And so last Friday, I was just sitting at home. I think I rode my motorcycle. I came home, and my friend Melanie Mullen, she's a minister at St. Paul's Episcopal. She was with RISC, and she was going live on Facebook about, she was in Charlottesville, and I knew they were having a thing on Saturday, but this was Friday night, and she was talking about, I think, maybe Tony Blackman or Cornel West were going to be speaking. I said, ooh, I like both of them. I'm going to go online. So she had a live Facebook feed going, and it was going pretty good. They were just singing. They were singing the freedom songs, you know, those civil rights songs. And I said, okay, I can see where this is going to be. This will be justice. I said, okay, I'm cool. I like this. And next thing I know, her feed goes down. You know, on Facebook, sometimes the live feed goes down. So make a long story short, it went down. I said, well, I'm going to go and see if somebody else at the program is going live. So I went in the search engine, put Charlottesville in there, and I think whatever, and then boom, it's about 8:30, 9 o'clock. And then instead of Melanie's video coming up, I'm seeing video of people going through Charlottesville with torches. Now, see, I've seen that before. I've seen pictures of Nazi Germany. I've seen pictures of the Klan. I've seen that. And I know what church they're at. And I see they're inside singing, preparing for the next day. But unbeknownst to most of the folk inside, there's a couple hundred folk outside with torches marching past the church, and at one point stopped at the church. Now, see, I've seen that before, because folk in this country like to burn churches. There's no need for you to have, there's plenty of street light in Charlottesville. See, that was to intimidate folk with their Nazi flags and their Confederate flags. Last time I checked, they both lost. Last time I checked. Now, so I'm looking at this, and it troubled me. It troubled me. And so then I couldn't put down my phone and internet, and so I racked up some crazy data charges for the church, so forgive me, I'll give y'all the money on my phone. And then I saw these UVA kids standing around a statue saying VA students against racism. They were students. Then the marchers came with their torches, surrounded the students, and for several minutes began to beat up those students. Police were there but didn't stop it initially. Kids standing there, surrounded by an angry mob with torches. We've seen this before. Now, there's a lot of stuff we need to deal with. There's crime, drugs, and everything, but I'm going to deal with this today. Because we need to shut this down. And what I've noticed over the last year has been, normally people would do those torch things with hoods. Normally they wear their grandmama's sheets because they are cowards. Get that on tape. And they walk around with those flags, those Confederate flags. They don't have it. That's not Confederate history. That is intimidation. That is lost cause religion. Look that up. Google that. Lost cause religion is about people in the South trying to say that God judged them and they need to bring back the South. Look it up. That's that Confederate crap. It's a bunch of mess. They teach it in their churches. It's a bunch of crazy mess. And that whole Confederate stuff, no. The Civil War was about slavery. Don't get it twisted. And even where I live in Rhonda, they're raising up all these Confederate flags. But we're going to have to shut some of this stuff down. But they went through Charlottesville with one thing in mind: to intimidate, to instill fear, and to build up their cause. So what's the church going to do? Because Virginia flaggers last night, those folk that want to fly those Confederate flags on 64 and 95, so they want to bring this thing to Richmond September 26th. And the Lord was, and I wanted to preach a sermon about so we can shout and give God glory and give God praise, but God said, no, you're going to have to work today. So in my mind, I said, Lord, what do we do? What's our call? What's our response? He said, you got to look at Titus. I said, okay, God, what about Titus? Well, Paul had some issues. He had some issues with some people, and you got to deal with it. Because what you need to understand is 70% of evangelicals voted for Trump. That means their pastors encouraged them a lot of times. And just this week, Robert Jeffers, he's a pastor at First Baptist Dallas. That's a big church, huge thing. He got on there and said, oh, God has given Trump full authority to assassinate the emperor of, president of North Korea. He's giving him all authority, like he got a direct line from God, and Trump is God's man. No, I don't think so. God had a whole lot of folk he can choose from. And he got on there and he said, that's it. And see, what that theology is that theology is saying that America is always right. Nobody else in the world got anything right. But it's a crazy theology. But guess what? That theology has been taught in churches, and people are believing that, and people are accepting that. And so what are we going to do? So God said, we got to look at Paul. You got to look at Paul. Paul had some issues. Paul had to deal with it. Go to the text. Let's read it. Titus chapter 1, verse 10. How do you shut it down? 2 ways. Paul gives it 2 ways. Paul says there are many rebellious people. Yes. See, there's 63 million folk who voted for Trump. All of them ain't bad people. But the David Dukes, the KKK, the Nazis, those Confederate kind of folks, oh yeah, there are many rebellious people. Amen. Full of meaningless talk and deception, especially those of the circumcision group. Now, this were the folk that Paul was dealing with. Paul said they causing mess, they causing strife, they're doing all this stuff. He says there's only one way you handle all this crazy talk. You got to silence it. How do you silence it? First of all, you got to confront it with the truth. You got to confront it. If we let these people continue to have a platform, and continue, if we stay silent. See, the only way you can silence them is if you aren't silent. People got on me earlier, back in October and in September, when I was talking about Trump, and I wasn't saying good things about him because I'm not. I pray for him. I pray that he repents. And they were like, you're not showing the love of Christ. I'm saying, I know, I'm not normalizing bigotry. I'm not going to normalize bigotry. And so some of these preachers, and they hit me on, and they said, well, like, you're not showing the love of God and all this kind of stuff. I said, what did Jesus do when he went into the temple with that whip? There's certain things you can't tolerate. There's certain things that must be shut down. And so if we're going to shut it down, the first thing we do, we can't be silent, because if we're silent, they won't be silent. And when the church sees this kind of, because it is bubbling up, they want more. They got something planned in Boston. But if we're quiet, they're going to get louder. We must silence them with the truth. We must silence them, with righteousness. We must silence them with our presence. We can't let them show up in Richmond and we not show up. Now, let me tell you something. I'm never going to put anybody in harm's way, but they're not coming to Richmond, and I'm going to be there. It's not happening. No. You don't have to be there, but they're not showing up in Richmond. No. You're not going to have a platform, and I'm not going to be protesting.